Watch this now. Because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you think you know about love, attraction, and why she's holding back. You've been lied to. You've been told that if a woman wants you, she'll show it. No hesitation, no fear, no second guessing. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. The truth? She could want you deeply, intensely, and still pull away. Not because she's playing games, not because you're not good enough, but because what she feels for you is terrifying. And if you don't understand why, you'll keep losing the women you actually care about before you ever get the chance to really have them. This isn't some vague dating advice. This isn't about just be confident or just be yourself. Being predictably consistent in your actions while allowing the emotional intensity to build gradually. It means understanding that her slowest steps toward you are often the most meaningful because they represent conscious choices rather than impulsive reactions. The man who grasps this recognizes that every small vulnerability she offers is a gift to be honored, not an opportunity to be exploited. The irony is that the very qualities that make a man capable of this kind of patient pursuit, emotional stability, self-assurance without arrogance, the ability to sit with uncertainty, are the same qualities that ultimately make her feel safe enough to lower her guard. It's a virtuous cycle. Your demonstrated capacity to respect her boundaries becomes proof that you're worthy of crossing them. Your willingness to move at, you might choose to walk away instead. This is about the silent war raging inside her mind every time she looks at you and thinks, what if he's different? Only to shut it down seconds later. And most importantly, this is about what you can actually do about it. Because here's the brutal reality. Right now, she's watching. She's testing. She's waiting to see if you're the kind of man who will prove her fears wrong or confirm them. And what you do next, how you respond, how you show up, whether you truly get it, will determine whether she stays or becomes just another what if in your past. So if you're ready to stop guessing, stop losing, and finally understand what it really takes to make a woman trust you enough to stay, then you cannot look away. Because what comes next? This changes everything. Keep watching. Let's vulnerability with danger. So when she feels that pull toward you, there's an automatic counter-response. What if this is another mistake? And here's where most men get it wrong. They assume that if a woman is hesitant, she must not be truly interested. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding of female psychology. The truth is, the more she could care, the more cautious she becomes. Because the potential for pain isn't just about losing you, it's about losing herself in the process. Women don't just fall in love, they merge. They absorb the emotional climate of their relationships in a way that most men don't. So if she senses instability, inconsistency, or even just ambivalence from you, her entire system goes into lockdown. It's not a punishment, it's preservation. So what's the solution? Relatively quickly in many cases, but for a woman, the fallout can ripple through her mental health, her social standing, even her physical safety. So, when she hesitates, when she pulls back, even though part of her is drawn to you, it's not a rejection. It's risk assessment. Now, let's talk about why that risk feels so real to her. If you've ever wondered why she might seem interested one day and distant the next, it's not because she's being irrational. It's because she's weighing the evidence. And what's the evidence? Every man who came before you. Every time she trusted too soon, every time she ignored red flags, every time she gave someone the benefit of the doubt only to realize too late that she shouldn't have. Those experiences aren't just memories, they're neural pathways. Her brain has literally been wired to associate, cut through the noise and get to the heart of why a woman who wants you might still hold back. Because this isn't about mind games, manipulation, or some arbitrary test. It's about survival. Deep in her psyche, there's a fundamental question she's asking, whether she's fully conscious of it or not. Is this man going to be the one who finally proves it's safe to let my guard down? You see, women, like all human beings, operate on a complex interplay of instinct and experience. And if you look at the data, both psychological and sociological, you'll find that women are far more selective in love, not because they're indecisive, but because the stakes for them are objectively higher. Biologically, emotionally, socially, the cost of choosing the wrong partner is immense. A man can walk away from a bad relationship and rebuild. Her pace demonstrates that you're not just in it for conquest, but for connection. This brings us to the crucial distinction between persistence and pressure. Persistence says, I'm here when you're ready. Pressure says, you should be ready now. One creates safety, the other creates resistance. The right man understands that timing is everything, that there are moments to step forward and moments to step back. And wisdom lies in knowing the difference. He recognizes that her hesitation isn't an obstacle to overcome, but a process to respect, because anything truly valuable can't be rushed into existence. What we're really talking about here is emotional leadership, the ability to hold space for someone's fears while gently guiding them towards something better. This isn't about manipulation or strategy, it's about embodying the kind of character that makes risk feel worth taking. When you can do this, when you can be both the flame that draws her in and the steady ground beneath her feet, that's when hesitation transforms into wholeheartedness. Final thought. The measure of a man isn't in how quickly he can make a woman drop her defenses, it's in whether he's built something trustworthy enough for her to willingly walk toward. So ask yourself, are you constructing walls or building bridges? Because in the end, the strongest relationships aren't taken by storm, they're entered by choice. That you're safe, because here's the reality. Words are cheap. Promises are easy. Anyone can say the right things in the right moment. But real trust, that's forged in the consistency of your actions, in the alignment between what you say and what you do. Think about it this way. Trust is a psychological contract. And for a woman, that contract isn't signed after a few good dates or heartfelt conversations. It's signed only after she's seen enough evidence that you're not going to change the terms when it suits you. That's why mixed signals are so destructive. Every time you're hot and cold, every time you're engaged one day and distant the next, what you're really doing is sending her subconscious a clear message. This man is unpredictable. And unpredictability in the realm of emotional investment is danger. Now, assessing risk. And every time you follow through, every time you're where you said you'd be, every time you respond with patience instead of frustration, you're depositing into an emotional bank account. Withdraw too often without putting anything back, and eventually the account closes. And here's the critical part. You can't rush this process. You can't guilt her into trusting you faster by saying she's overthinking or too guarded. That's like demanding someone heal a broken bone before it's had time to mend. Her hesitation isn't a flaw, it's a rational response to a world where too many people have proven unreliable. If you want her to lower her guard, you don't do it by telling her to. You do it by being the kind of man who makes her feel safe enough to do so. Which brings us to the ultimate question. What does? That her fear isn't an obstacle, it's information. It tells you exactly what she needs to feel safe. And safety isn't built through grand gestures or empty promises. It's built in the quiet, consistent moments where you demonstrate that you're not just another variable in her life, but a constant. That you're not just present when it's convenient, but reliable when it's hard. Because trust isn't given. It's earned brick by brick through actions that align with words. And here's the most crucial part. You don't convince her with arguments. You convince her with experience. She doesn't need you to tell her you're different. She needs to see it over and over until her nervous system unlearns its own defenses. That's why patience isn't just virtuous here. It's strategic. The man who rushes her into vulnerability will always lose to the man who lets it unfold naturally. So if you're standing there frustrated, wondering why she won't just say what she feels, understand this. Her silence isn't a no. It's a show me. And the man who steps up to that challenge, not with pressure, but with patience, not with demands, but with proof, is the man who will eventually hear every unspoken word she's been too afraid to say. Final thought. The strongest relationships aren't built on the absence of fear, but on the presence of trust. And trust isn't won in a moment. It's earned across time. So ask yourself, are you giving her enough of it to let her walls come down? Let's address something fundamental about human nature. Trust isn't given, it's built. And when it comes to a woman's perspective, you're an emotional gamble, and no one bets their peace on a maybe. So how do you break through this? First, you have to understand that trust isn't built in grand declarations. It's built in the mundane, in the everyday. It's in the way you show up when you say you will, in the way you listen when she speaks, in the way you handle her vulnerability when she dares to share it. These are the moments that matter, because these are the moments that prove you're not just passing through her life, you're invested in it. Second, you have to recognize that trust is cumulative. It's not a single act, but a pattern of behavior. One honest conversation doesn't erase 10 instances of flakiness. One moment of vulnerability doesn't cancel out a history of emotional safety. Look like in practice, it looks like clarity. It looks like showing her through your actions that she's not just an option, but a priority. It looks like respecting her boundaries instead of testing them. It looks like understanding that her trust isn't yours by default, it's yours to earn. And when you do earn it, that's when you'll see the woman who was once hesitant become the woman who's all in. Final thought, trust is the currency of real connection. And if you want her to invest in you,